This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
All fucking ready? Really? God fucking damn it. Fuckity fuck. Piece of fucking shit. God damn it. It's okay, Flo. It's okay. And I shouldn't have done that. Like, I just started the stream. You're not supposed to cuss in the first minute of a YouTube video. That was totally within the first minute. DJ Tub, good evening. Welcome in. Thank you for the resub, Flo. DM, my friend, good evening. Glad to have you back. Enjoyed your company last night. Julie, anonymously. Avalon. Femvox, welcome in, friends. One and all. We have a jam-packed show for you tonight. Oregon Gal. Sup? A man has been freed after being held hostage for 20 fucking years. Ah, god damn it. Already cussed. A man who impersonated a cop at a Swiftie concert apparently tried to grab a cop's gun and attack him, so cool. Wild video of a Hollywood carjacking. The wife of the star of a ghost hunter adventure show, apparently accused of a murder for hire plot. Apparently, I say apparently a lot. A woman survived 6 days trapped in a ditch. An Idaho teacher had to remove a sign that said "Everyone is welcome, thanks Trump." A prominent Hollywood celebrity decided that she felt she wasn't welcome, so she left. Rosie O'Donnell now resides in Ireland. You guys remember that pastor? Real close to Donald Trump? The one that was accused of assaulting a woman in his church and had to step down? Yeah, there's some real dark stuff that's come out about him. Not a drag queen, not a trans person. However, we do have some unfortunate video to watch of a trans person that got shot by the LAPD. Body cam footage has been released. Trump's nominee for CDC director has been withdrew. We're going to talk about Dr. Oz going to be tapped to head up CMS. That's the agency that oversees Medicare and Medicaid. We're going to talk about votes. Do they have the votes to pass the continuing resolution? I guess a vote is going to happen tomorrow. You're going to hear from Representative Pramila Jayapal on what she thinks the Senate should do. You're going to hear from Bernie Sanders about what he thinks the Senate should do. Surprise! Chuck Schumer thinks the Senate should do the thing that you probably don't want it to do. Josephus, good evening. Zelensky is apparently saying that Putin wants to reject the ceasefire, but is afraid to tell Trump. But now, since that story broke, we do have Putin coming out with his conditions. Apparently says he will accept the ceasefire, but has added a bunch of new demands to it. I guess in an attempt to save face. The judge has said federal workers that have been fired unjustly by Elon Musk must be reinstated. By the way, they're going to end up getting back pay. This is going to end up costing the government more money and be far less efficient. than not firing them, which, you know, Department of Government Efficiency, right? It's not upside down world right now. Apparently, one of the high-ranking officials with Douche is a grifter that's trying to raise her status as an influencer. Ooh, and I got some spicy video of New York mayoral candidate Zoran confronting Homeland Security Secretary Homan. All that and a lot friggin' more tonight on the Troll Patrol live. Good evening. Spending more on less efficiency. That's exactly what it is. Tones, welcome in. I don't really have an opinion on Don Lemon. I've seen enough of him to know that he's a good broadcaster. Guy's got a great voice, great presence, excellent on air. So all those things, mad props to him. But as for like his opinions or what he's been doing since he left CNN, no idea. Apparently, Zelensky's been getting coaching from European leaders on how to suck ass and suck up to Trump. That was what I was reading about earlier. I'm trying to find. I had a specific meme. I saw it on my phone earlier. I would like to use that as the meme of the day. But I can't find it. And there's too many memes of JD Vance. It's too much for me. I should pull that one out, the $7 for your Nightmare Blunt rotation. I'd absolutely pick Matt Walsh on that one. Because clearly, you know, Matt Walsh and I go way back. He once called me a formidable voice in the culture.
JustinFREAKIN is a formidable voice in the culture.
Oh my God. And I'm only back like 22 hours in this fucking group, so it's hard telling. It's hard to, because this is where the memes come from. If they don't come from Reddit, they come from this Facebook group. Very nice TV. Welcome in. I'm going to have to settle. I'm not going to find the one I want. Good evening. Welcome in, Raiders. Did I fuck up? Oh, God damn it. Shit. Welcome in, Raiders. Very nice TV. Always good to see you. I did not make it through the profanity clock, twice now? I've already had to reset it. If you're not familiar with me, I'm JustinFREAKIN. We find out what that news will be doing Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Matt Walsh once called me a formidable voice in the culture.
JustinFREAKIN is a formidable voice in the culture.
Yes, Tones, give me your meme. Put it in the Discord. Hit me with it. I could always consult the Discord for memes because we have so many of them. Meme-mania going on. I usually have a meme of the day at the top of the show, but I screwed up today and couldn't find the one I wanted. It was a fantastic Harambe meme because, you know, it's 2025 and we're still doing Harambe memes. I'm not proud of it, but it's 10 after, so I gotta get to the news. UN releasing a report today saying that Israel, to the surprise of no one, is committing a genocide. Also accuses them of sexual violence in war. Ouch.
United Nations experts reported on Thursday that Israel committed genocidal acts against Palestinians by destroying women's healthcare facilities and using sexual violence as a war strategy during the conflict in Gaza. Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, rejected the report's findings, calling them biased and anti-Semitic. The country disengaged from the Human Rights Council in February. Chris Sidoti is a member of the UN Independent International Commissions of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory.
Our report finds that Israel has increasingly employed sexual, reproductive and other forms of gender-based violence against Palestinians as part of a broader effort to undermine their right to self-determination. It also concludes that Israel has carried out genocidal acts through the systematic destruction of sexual and reproductive healthcare facilities.
Those actions, in addition to a surge in maternity death due to restricted access to medical supplies, amounted to the crime against humanity of extermination, the Commission said. The report accuses Israeli security forces of using forced public stripping and sexual assault as standard practice to punish Palestinians after the 2023 Hamas-led attacks on southern Israel. During hearings in Geneva this week, a Gaza nurse identified...
So in order to punish them for their made-up rape crimes that we don't really have evidence of, because Israel will not let the UN investigate those crimes because they were afraid the UN would uncover their own crimes. So for their made-up rape, they decided to rape people for real. And apparently in this country, if you speak up
said that Israeli forces
against the people doing the raping,
forced him to strip to his underwear in public. During his captivity,
you'll be imprisoned.
He was beaten in the genitals, he added.
Now, this is physical abuse, but it's also psychological abuse. It's designed to humiliate. The Commission documented a pattern of sexual violence, including cases of rape and other forms of sexual violence, torture and other inhumane acts that amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity.
A previous report published by the Commission in June 2024 accused Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups of serious rights violations in the October 7, 2023 attack. Hamas carried out a cross-border raid into southern Israel on October 7, 2023, triggering a devastating war in the Gaza Strip that killed more than 48,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza health officials. Hamas militants killed 1,200 people and took 251 hostages, according to Israeli tallies. South Africa has brought a genocide case against Israel's actions in Gaza at the International Court of Justice.
But nothing has come of it. Yet, hopefully, yet. And this is almost a week since the abduction of an American permanent resident married to a U.S. citizen here 100% legally. A lot of people think that the First Amendment doesn't apply to non-citizens. Wrong. Anyone here in the United States has constitutional protections, not just U.S. citizens. Sorry, right-wingers. The First Amendment still applies. This is a gross violation of the First Amendment. Nearly 100 protesters arrested at Trump Tower for protesting the unjust detention of Mahmoud Khalil almost a week now.
Begin with that protest in Midtown. Police say about 150 people staged a sit-in inside Trump Tower this afternoon.
98 people have been arrested for various charges, and the protests come on the heels of the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil. He's the pro-Palestinian Columbia graduate detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. This happened over the weekend. Lisa Rosner is live outside of Trump Tower right now with more. Lisa.
Well, Alan
and Christine. Things are calm now, but it was a chaotic couple of hours inside Trump Tower. The NYPD says among the charges in these arrests is trespassing and obstructing governmental administration. The NYPD says around 150 people entered Trump Tower in plain clothes. But once inside, they revealed protest shirts and signs and staged a sit-in.
Within 10 minutes, we started responding here from the police department. Within 4.
Also, notice that is Jewish Voices for Peace. I don't think the news pointed that out, though it clearly says on their shirt. And while it also clearly says on their shirt, you can also really tell that is Jewish people protesting. God, that was horrible of me. I'm sorry.
Signs and staged a sit-in.
Within 10 minutes, we started responding here from the police department. Within 40 minutes, 50 minutes, we started making arrests.
Police carried out demonstrators like Josh Dubnow.
We have a right to express our opinions, but I refuse to allow my fear to stop me from expressing my First Amendment rights.
The demonstration organized by the group Jewish Voice for Peace.
Thank you.
Which is an anti-Zionist Jewish group.
We're seeing the Trump regime weaponize anti-Semitism to attack freedom of speech.
The Anti-Defamation League says it does not represent the mainstream Jewish community. Attorney Gerard...
The ADL doesn't represent the mainstream Jewish community.
Jew hatred.
The issue is not students saying that they support Palestine, but it's rather students taking action, blocking Jewish students from accessing parts of campus. When you're talking about globalizing the Intifada is known as specifically violence targeting Jews in Israel. So you are selectively discriminating against an identifiable group of people, which is, in this case, anti-Semitic.
This comes on the Council on American Islamic Relations New York filed a lawsuit against Columbia University and the Congressional Committee on Education and Workforce. Plaintiffs are Khalil and 7 other students who say the school handing over student disciplinary records to that committee a few months ago violated the Family Education Rights Privacy Act.
Allowing Congress and institutions like Columbia and others to target you or someone else because of a viewpoint you hold is an epic danger to American values.
Insane. Pete Case, good evening.
The city said it does not comment on pending litigation. A rep for the Education Committee told me, in part, the lawsuit changes nothing. Our committee will continue its work to protect Jewish students and hold schools accountable. Now, coming up at 6 p.m., I speak with the attorney for Mahmoud Khalil, and she shares with me a little information about a phone call she had with him last night. We're live in Midtown. Lisa Rosner, CBS News, New York.
Okay, Lisa, we look forward to that. See you then.
Tones, I think you did a really good job on this, but my God, are you going to traumatize people? Content warning for this meme. I mean it, content warning. You made quesadilla barf. You made Josephus question his sexuality. Byronic, good evening. Makes Byronic question her sexuality. You know, speaking of JD Vance, He doesn't think the Constitution applies to everyone, like I explained to you. If you are in this country, the Constitution applies to you. This is what the U.S. government can't do to you. It can't infringe on your freedom of speech. Just because you're a green card holder doesn't mean the Constitution doesn't apply. Anyone saying otherwise is fucking stupid. So I give you J.D. Vance.
Laura, a green card holder, even if I might like that green card holder, doesn't have an indefinite right to be in the United States of America, right? American citizens have different rights from people who have green cards, from people who have student visas. And so my attitude on this is, this is not fundamentally about free speech. And to me, yes, it's about national security, but it's also more importantly about who do we, as an American public, decide gets to join our national community? And if the Secretary of State and the President decide this person shouldn't be in America and they have no legal right to stay here, it's as simple as that.
Do you see more such deportations happening?
I think we'll certainly see some people who get deported on student visas if we determine that it's not in the best interest of the United States to have them in our country. So yeah, I don't know how high that number is going to be, but you're going to see more people.
Deport me, motherfuckers.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe.
Shut the fuck up, Will Kane. Speaking of, how did you put it so eloquently, little fuck-face baby bitches? Apparently, Zelensky is accusing Vladimir Putin of being a little fuck-face baby bitch.
Ми всі почули з Росії.
We have all just heard very predictable and highly manipulative
маніпулятивні слова Путіна.
Words from Russia in response to the idea of a ceasefire on the front.
На фронті. Він фактично
Putin is essentially preparing to reject it at this moment. Of course, Putin is afraid to tell President Trump directly
президенту Трампу, що хоче продовжувати.
that he wants to continue this war, that he wants to kill Ukrainians.
І тому вони
That is why in Moscow they are surrounding the idea of a ceasefire with such preconditions that nothing will come of it. Or at least it will be delayed as long as possible. Putin often acts this way.
Не каже ні. Напряму.
He doesn't say no outright, but ensures that everything drags on and that normal solutions become impossible.
Та унеможливлює нормальні рішення. Ми не ставимо.
We do not set conditions that complicate things. Russia does.
Це Росія робить.
As we have always said, the only one who will delay everything, the only one who will be unconstructive is Russia.
Неконструктивний – це Росія. Їм треба.
They need war. Putin has stolen years of peace and continues this war day by day.
День за днем.
That was Zelensky saying that Putin is too big of a little fuck face baby bitch. Putin has indeed responded and done exactly what Zelensky said he would do, but all kinds of preconditions on a ceasefire to where nothing can come of it.
NewsHour. Russian President Vladimir Putin today responded to a U.S.-Ukraine offer for a temporary ceasefire with his own demands and questions about what a 30-day pause in the war would mean for his long-term ambitions in Ukraine and Europe. Putin is meeting with President Trump's envoy as Ukraine says that Putin's words show he is not ready for peace. Nick Schifrin begins our coverage.
Tonight, a high-stakes negotiation between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, after Putin today said a ceasefire must answer his demands.
We agree with the proposals to stop the fighting, but we believe this cessation should be one that would lead to long-term peace and eliminate the initial causes of this crisis.
The Kremlin has long translated initial causes as the presence of U.S. and NATO troops in Eastern Europe. Congressional officials tell PBS NewsHour the Trump administration had already been considering reducing U.S. troops in Europe. The Kremlin has also demanded Ukraine refuse NATO weapons, cap its military size, and abandon NATO membership. Those are red lines for Ukraine, but the Trump administration appears willing, at the very least, to block Ukraine's NATO ambitions. Today, Putin also disparaged the very idea of a temporary pause.
How will these 30 days be used? For Ukraine to continue forced mobilization so that the mobilized units are trained? How can we be guaranteed that nothing like this happens?
Today, Russian troops regained the largest town in the Russian region of Kursk, parts of which have been occupied by Ukraine since last summer. Putin said any ceasefire would first have to answer Kursk's fate.
If we stop fighting for 30 days, what does this mean? That everyone who's there will go out without a fight? That we must release them from there? Or the Ukrainian leadership will give them a command to lay down their arms, to surrender themselves? How will this be? It's unclear.
Hello, everybody.
In the White House with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte today, President Trump described Putin's initial reply as positive.
We are getting good signals outside of Russia as to where we are with Russia, and hopefully they'll do the right thing.
And President Trump reiterated his desire to stop the war as quickly as possible.
He put out a very promising statement, but it wasn't complete. And yeah, I'd love to meet with him or talk to him.
I think we're coming up on that meeting, aren't we? The proposed meeting.
Putin demanded more answers and appeared in no rush.
Who is going to give orders for the cessation of hostilities? Who will determine where and who has committed a violation of the ceasefire? These are all questions that require painstaking research on both sides. There are some issues we should discuss, maybe with President Trump.
Tonight, Zelensky said Putin was not ready for peace.
That's why in Moscow they are surrounding the ceasefire idea with such preconditions that it either fails or gets dragged out for as long as possible. Now is the time to increase pressure on him. Sanctions must be applied.
You don't have the cards right now.
But publicly, President Trump's pressure has been on Zelensky personally and on Ukraine by halting military aid and pausing intelligence sharing for 6 days. In private, administration officials tell PBS NewsHour the president ordered sanctions on Russia to be more tightly enforced, and he has at times threatened more sanctions. But today, he held back.
I do have leverage, but I don't want to talk about leverage now, because right now we're talking to him, and based on the statements he made today, they were pretty positive, I think.
But the man who started this war also made it clear today there is no deal until his questions are answered and his demands are met. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.
Let's bring it back to the U.S. The pressing issue is the government staying open or closing tomorrow at midnight. The House passed the bill on Tuesday, the continuing resolution to just fund the government for another 6 months. The Senate set to vote on it tomorrow, apparently.
They should refuse to allow this bill to pass in the Senate.
If they don't?
I think there's going to be huge backlash from across the country, and I think all of them will have to deal with the consequences of that.
The Republicans have the White House, the Senate, and the House. If they want to do this, and if they want to screw over the American people, they can do this with their votes and their party. I do not believe that Democrats should participate.
But some Democrats may very well participate.
The one Democrat that voted
more concerned about a long-term
was disgraceful.
Government shutdown.
Lenny, good evening.
They may supply the votes at the end of the day, and the timing is critical, Wolf. 11:59 p.m. Friday night is the deadline for the Congress to pass a bill to avert a government shutdown. Today, this afternoon, Senate Democrats will huddle over lunch with Chuck Schumer, the minority leader, to decide how to proceed here. We'll see if they have a decision after that critical meeting.
Yeah, it's a critical decision for the Democrats to make. The Republicans need the Democrats in this specific piece of legislation in order to get the House version passed, and the impact on the American public could be enormous if the federal government shuts down, including a lot of people not only losing their jobs, but being harnessed with enormous problems without a federal government backing. Manu Raju up on the Hill, thanks very much. I want to stay on the Hill right now. The next fight.
So that lunch that happened featured Schumer saying this: it's not really a decision, it's a Hobson's choice. Either proceed with the bill before us or risk Donald Trump throwing America into the chaos of a shutdown. This is my view. This, in my view, is no choice at all. While the House bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down. There is nobody in the world, nobody, who wants to shut the government down more than Donald Trump and more than Elon Musk. We should not give it to them. Yeah, B-Ree, I agree. Fuck Schumer. But it does not look like the rest of the Democrats are going to go with him. We'll see what the split is. What do they need? Do they need 7 to overcome a filibuster? Bernie thinks, yeah, so they need 7 Democrats. Yep. My lord, good evening. I never know how to say your name. Rolandelli? Did I get it right? I think you've told me before, and I always fuck it up because I'm like that. I apologize, but good evening, my friend. Glad to have you here. Would you guys like to smoke some pot?
This country.
Let's get high.
We are a nation today that faces enormous crises. Sadly, the continuing resolution passed Tuesday in the U.S. House and which will come to this body very shortly, not only does nothing to address these crises, but in fact, it makes a bad situation much worse. Today, at a time when we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of this country.
He's playing the hits, but he's right.
Of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. And what that means, Mr. President, I grew up in a family living paycheck to paycheck. It means that people are worried about how they're going to afford housing. What happens if their landlord...
It's worse than paycheck to paycheck. People are living on credit cards. People are living on less than a paycheck. They're having to borrow money in order to get by and pay bills.
This is the rent. People go to the grocery store.
But ain't nothing changed.
Price of food.
It's the same stump speech,
their kids.
but ain't a goddamn thing changed.
People are looking at the outrageous cost of childcare, but you need childcare if you're going to go to work. How can you afford childcare? Our healthcare system is dysfunctional. People worry about how they can afford healthcare if they are lucky enough to be able to find a doctor. That is the reality of what's going on in our country today. Rich are getting richer, working people are struggling, and 800,000 Americans are sleeping out in the streets. So given that reality, what does this bill do? The bill written...
Lie one up, dib one back.
...in the House of Representatives without any bipartisan discussion at all. What does this bill do? Well, let me count the ways that it makes the financial struggles of working people even more difficult than they are today. And it does all of that, Mr. President, to lay the groundwork.
Us old fogies say that about all the generations ahead of us, my lord.
Musk and the billionaire class. For a start, some 22% of our seniors in this country are trying to survive on $15,000 a year or less, which to me is really quite incredible. I don't know how anybody, let alone a senior, survives on $15,000 a year or less.
Seriously.
Half of our seniors are trying to survive on $30,000 a year or less.
And if they did not have Medicare, holy shit.
So what does the Trump-Musk administration do to address the terrible economic pressures.
It was just for you, Byronic.
All over America. Well, they got a brilliant idea. They illegally fire thousands of workers at the Social Security Administration with plans to cut that staff in half. Mr. President, in America...
And they want to change it to where you can't call and sign up for Social Security through a phone. They want you to have to go to an office in person or do it on the internet. You know, seniors, famous for their mobility and technology usage.
America today, 30,000 people die each year waiting to receive their Social Security disability benefits because of a grossly...
Quesadilla, that's the problem. Fetterman's probably not even on the floor.
Social Security Administration. My office, and I expect your office, and I expect every other office, gets calls every day from seniors saying, I'm having a problem with Social Security. I can't make contact with the Social Security people. They're not getting back to me. And that is because today they are understaffed.
You're going to marry Bernie?
Musk and Trump get their way, and the Social Security Administration staff is cut in half, nobody can deny that that is a death sentence for many thousands of seniors who desperately need their benefits. Now, Mr. Musk, who's worth a few $100 billion, may not understand that there are millions of seniors in this country who have nothing in the bank, worry every day how they're going to heat their homes or buy the food.
Oh, but we just teach them how to save and invest.
They can't get
when they're young
that they need. Some of them will, in fact, die. And let me be clear. When you have Mr. Musk calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, despite the fact that it has...
You know what? Fuck it. Let's not just do Medicare for all. Let's do Social Security for all. Let's expand. Fucking lift the goddamn cap. Give everybody goddamn Social Security. Lift the cap. Fucking lift how the percentage you pay on it. Give everybody Social Security. Let's expand it and make it a UBI program. Make it universal.
Paid out every benefit owed to every eligible American for the last 80 plus years. That ain't no Ponzi scheme. When you have the President of the United States coming before Congress and lying, outrageously lying, about millions of people who are 150 or 200 years of age receiving Social Security benefits, a total lie. Everybody should understand what's going on. Trump and Musk are laying the groundwork for dismantling the most successful federal program in history.
Well, hopefully we can prevent this.
A program that keeps over 27 million Americans out of poverty. And by the way, just to set the record straight, over 95%, over 99% of the more than 70 million Social Security checks that go out each month are going to people who earned those benefits. Over 99%. People 150 or 500 years of age are not getting Social Security checks.
I think the best case scenario is that I know it's cliche at this moment in time, but like if Trump fucks everything up and you finally get that's what Curiouser and I were talking about last night. When you've got the dude bros, the guys that drive the pickup trucks and have the nice houses and stuff, when like they finally turn on Trump, when he's done something that hurts their pocketbook specifically and they turn on him, when that finally happens and things are that bad, if we are organized, we can step in We've got a general strike coming up in 2028. I know it's forever away, but it's also like COVID feels like it was just yesterday to me, and that was 5 years ago. So, general strike's less than that from now. So let's get prepared. If we can have a cohesive unit, a cohesive message, and I think we need to get radical about it, just like I said last night. We need to go further on everything so that, like, when we compromise, we come to where we want, right? No. We don't want to just reinstate Roe. We want mandatory abortions for any underage girl who gets pregnant. I think a child having a child is child abuse. So, because I came up with this yesterday, because some motherfucker, I said they were, wanting to legislate their morality by outlawing abortion. They're like, you're wanting to legislate your morality. I'm like, how is that possible if I'm pro-choice? No, legislating my morality would be forcing underage girls to have abortions, because I don't think a child should bring a child in the world. You can't change my mind that bringing a child into this world in less than ideal circumstances, if you can't afford to raise it, if you're in an abusive relationship, you can't tell me that an abortion isn't the moral option. You can't change my mind on that one. And since it's a matter of morality, and I acknowledge that your position that you think, a life is a life and you shouldn't kill it, the only just position is pro-choice. Thank you. Glad I could clear that up. You gotta have a social safety net if you want to keep the game of capitalism going. That's what these fuckers don't understand. There was this podcast called Pitchfork Economics, and it was about how you need to operate as if the pitchforks are going to come for you, because if you don't, the pitchforks are going to come for you. Exactly. It's not my decision, it's the woman's decision. Report me to ICE. I would love it if ICE came yank me out of here. People keep telling me I'm going to get arrested because I'm hitting on Joni Ernst. No, I think I'm going to get a date with Joni Ernst. But we need to get radical on this. A $15 minimum wage? Nope. It's at least $27, $28 now. At least. Housing is a right. Healthcare is a right. I want to a great place to start. It's already right there on fucking paper. You've got FDR's second Bill of Rights. Why the Democrats don't run on that? Hold on, let me look it up. Let me give them all to you. What, this should be the Democratic platform. What in the hell are these fuckers? Why in the hell? This is 100 fucking years ago almost. Second Bill of Rights. You have a right to employment. You have a right to an adequate income. You have farmers' rights to a fair income, freedom from unfair competition and monopolies. You have a right to decent housing. You have a right to adequate medical care. You have a right to Social Security, and you have a right to education. Economic rights. The solution, right? Fuck it, it's been here in front of us.
Certain economic truths have become accepted as self-evident. A second Bill of Rights, under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station or race or creed. Among these are the right to a useful and remunerative job in the industries or shops or farms or mines throughout the nation. The right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation. The right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return which will give him and his family a decent living. The right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom, freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad. The right of every family to a decent home. The right to adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health. The right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age, sickness, accident, and unemployment. The right to a good education. All of these rights spell security.
Well, Josephus, to answer your question, the only reason that FDR was able to prosper the way he was because he was a very, 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 very rich motherfucker. Unfortunately, that's the only time we were able to get a socialist is when he was a very, very, very rich motherfucker. Weird how that works, isn't it? He wasn't a socialist, but by God, they accused him of being a socialist. Did that sound socialist to you? It was all framed in economic terms. It was all neoliberal as fuck. You're right, he saved capitalism. He not only saved capitalism, but set it up to succeed for the next 30, 40 years. They hate him. They tried to kill him at the time. That's wild that we had Nazis then trying to kill the president. I just can't get over that was almost 100 years ago. The Democrats have ran far, far away from that as a platform. And that was when they were the most successful. What? And it wasn't just FDR. Like, he ushered in like a almost permanent majority in Congress. Democrats, it's right there. It's right, the second Bill of Rights. Run on that. Bernie used to talk about that during the first campaign, but like Bernie's had to regress because we've regressed. It's like one of you said it in the chat, like now we got to defend the original Bill of Rights. Michael, good evening. This was when border czar Tom Homan came to New York. This was a mayoral candidate. I don't remember his first name. Zoran.
How many more New Yorkers? How many more New Yorkers will you detain? How many more New Yorkers without charge? Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan?
Zoran Memdani.
Tom Homan.
Zoran's his first name. I'm sorry.
He was a smirk. Because there is no answer for taking a man from his pregnant wife, who is due to deliver their newborn child in a month, from their Columbia University apartment, a day after that
Zoran Memdani
to Columbia University and said he feared for his life. The cowardice that is on display across our city and our state is unacceptable. That's right. New Yorkers are looking to us. They are looking to their leaders for courage and for conviction. And what they are finding instead is collaboration. And that is just simply unacceptable.
Boy, howdy.
How many more New Yorkers will you detain? How many more New Yorkers without charge?
Fucking preach it.
Do you believe in the First Amendment?
Arberlin, welcome in. Last we heard, he was in Louisiana. A court has ordered him to not be moved, but he is still detained. But a judge has taken a look at this case. It's at least getting national attention. All the news stations are covering it, so that means he's probably going to get out, luckily. But if there hadn't been this much attention on it, they probably could have just disappeared him. Fuck, were we lucky. I've got to give props to, like, you know, CBS, ABC. They've been covering it because I was really hard on CBS when we watched the clip on Sunday from the Sunday morning show, because she had DHS Secretary Kristi Noem on the show. Khalil had already been abducted at that time, but it hadn't made, like, the news wires, right? That happened at like 2 or 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. Because, like, I keep up with, you know, the AP and the Reuters and all that good shit. So it's possible the producers at CBS didn't know on Sunday morning. I knew before I went to bed Saturday night because I follow Talia Jane, and I think she's based in New York. So she had, like, almost immediate reporting on it. So it's possible that CBS, you know, honest mistake, because they have covered it well since. So I appreciate that. Yeah, we watched video of the protest at Trump Tower earlier. Almost 100 people were arrested. I think 98 was the final total. DJ Dub, good evening. Welcome in. Trump is threatening to escalate a global trade war.
And I'm Christy Casciano.
I'm Jeff Kulikowski. The stock market seeing another steep dive today as President Trump's trade war takes more twists and turns. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones with a 537-point hit. The NASDAQ taking a 345-point beating, and the S&P 500 down 78 points.
The president is planning to uncork a huge tariff on a top European export. ABC's Perry Russum is in Washington with more.
President Trump now threatening a 200% tariff on wine and champagne coming into the U.S. from the European Union. It's the latest move in this back and forth, ever evolving global trade war.
We sell no cars to Europe. I mean, virtually no cars, and they sell millions of cars to us. They don't take our agriculture, we take their agriculture. It's like a one-way street with them.
I feel like that's not true. Do they not drive? I mean, they make better cars than us, so, you know, but they don't have Chevys in Europe. I find that kind of hard to believe. They don't drive Fords over in Europe.
Trump threatening the tariff in response to the EU threatening a 50% tariff on American-made whiskey. And that came after the U.S. imposed that 25% global tariff on steel and aluminum.
No, I'm not going to bend at all on aluminum or steel or cars. We're not going to bend.
A day after saying he would respond to the EU with reciprocal tariffs.
So whatever they charge us, we're charging them.
Trump instead threatening a wine tariff that's 400% more than what the EU is proposing. Stocks once again tumbling, affecting Americans' 401ks. Treasury Secretary and billionaire Scott Bessent on CNBC.
I'm not concerned about
a little bit of volatility over 3 weeks, because if you look over the long term, the reason stocks are a safe and great investment is because you're looking over the long term.
Trump also in a heated trade war with Canada. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister at a G7 summit today.
And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have.
Canada's retaliatory tariffs took effect overnight, affecting U.S. exports of steel and aluminum.
But they need us. We really don't need them. And we have to do this. I'm sorry. We have to do this, yes.
New polling today from Quinnipiac University looks at Trump's handling of the economy and trade. The polling was done last week, and 54% of Americans disapprove of his handling of the economy, and 58% disapprove of his handling of trade with Canada. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
I don't know where this is going to go. Probably not good for our economy, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Hey, if you're an investor, you might want to buy the dip. It's just knowing when the actual dip is. That's the deal. Politico reporting that thousands of fired federal workers, good evening, Mr. Balls, must be rehired immediately. U.S. District Judge William Alsup described the mass firings as a sham strategy by the government's Central Human Resources Office. Let me make this bigger. U.S. District Judge William Alsup described the mass firings as a sham strategy by the government's Central Human Resource Offices to sidestep legal requirements for reducing the federal workforce. Alsup ordered the Defense, Treasury, Energy, Interior, Agriculture, and Veterans Affairs departments to immediately offer all fired probationary employees their jobs back. The Office of Personnel Management, the judge said, had made an unlawful decision to terminate them. And even if it is upheld on appeal, it does not guarantee that all the workers will be able to get their jobs back permanently. Alsup made clear that agencies still have the authority to implement reductions in force as long as they follow the proper procedures for doing so. Federal agencies are currently finalizing reduction in force plans. Alsup issued his ruling in a lawsuit brought by Federal Employees Union. He lashed out at the Justice Department over its handling of the case, saying he believes that the Trump administration lawyers were hiding the facts about who directed the mass firings. You will not bring the people in here to be cross-examined. You're afraid to do so because you know cross-examination would reveal the truth, the judge said to the DOJ attorney during a hearing on Thursday. I tend to doubt that you're telling me the truth. I'm tired of seeing you stonewall on trying to get at the truth. Alsup also said the administration attempted to circumvent federal laws on reducing the workforce by attributing the firings to performance when that was not, in fact, the case. The judge called the move a gimmick. It is a sad, sad day when our government would fire some good employee and say it was based on performance when they know good and well that it's a lie. More than 5,000 probationary workers for the USDA had already won a reprieve last week when the chair of the Federal Civil Services Board ordered them reinstated for 45 days. But Alsup is the first federal judge to order the administration to broadly unwind the firing spree that has roiled the federal workforce during Trump's first 2 months in office. Alsup emphasized that he was not ruling that the government is unable to lay off personnel at federal agencies, but that the Trump administration was in such a hurry to do so that it shunted aside federal laws that dictate the procedures for a so-called RIF. The words that I give you today should not be taken that some wild and crazy judge in San Francisco said that an administration cannot engage in a reduction in force. It can be done if it's done in accordance with the law. Crystal Cat, good evening. Greetings from a single cat dude in Appalachia. You guys want a Maynard? He's like right here at my feet. But he's gonna run. Say hey, Maynard. Say hey, Maynard. He is certainly not impressed. I'd just be petting him. He'll bite the shit out of me. Sunlight, welcome in. Hope you're having a fantastic evening. Several state AGs are suing to block former WWE CEO Linda McMahon from dismantling the Department of Education.
Well, now to a fight over education. Today, 21 Democratic attorneys general from states including New Jersey and Delaware have filed a lawsuit over the president's decision to gut the Department of Education. This week, the administration cut about half of the agency's workforce, and the AGs are calling the layoffs reckless and illegal, saying over 50 million children stand to lose the most.
This sweeping mass firing is simply put illegal. There's no question that the president's attempt to dismantle the department.
This is Rob Bonta, the Attorney General of California. And does he look like he's wearing somebody else's face? Has anyone investigated if he is wearing someone else's face like a mask? Really good with makeup too to blend it in, but I think there's like an extra layer of skin there.
To dismantle the Department of Education exceeds executive authority.
So the suit comes 2 days after 1,300 employees.
I should not make fun of the way people look.
Their duties range from anything from administering grants to tracking student achievement across the country. The top prosecutors for 21 states are seeking a court order to stop what it calls the Trump administration's policies to dismantle. They argue the firing will impact students in under-resourced communities and also those with special needs and disabilities who rely on federal funding.
Colleges and universities will become more expensive as federal funding for Pell Grants, work-study programs, and loans will be put at risk.
The Secretary of Education says the layoffs will help the department deliver services more efficiently and that the changes will not impact student loans or funding for special needs students. We also reached out to Pennsylvania Attorney General Dave Sunday, who tells Action News, "We will not micromanage the federal government, and I will not have news-making commentary in response to the happenings in D.C." Guys?
Still a fluctuating situation. Christy, thank you.
Christy, apparently. Has anybody seen that post where they're like, glad they invented the library before all this capitalism shit? Like, you could never invent the library or the fire department now. Like, nobody would go for that. This should come as a shock to no one. One of the officials at Doge, is this the administrator? Is this the one that was on vacation when they named her? She apparently has been trying to make a name for herself on social media. She wants to be an influencer. That's how she's spending her time instead of working on government efficiency. Seems pretty efficient, right?
Breaking news, Doge striking again. CNN learning the education department is expected to begin sweeping layoffs tonight. The goal, we understand, is to cut about half of the 4,100 person workforce, so 50% cut for the DOE. It comes as a CNN investigation looks into a high-ranking employee at the Office of Personnel and Management. The agency
what about those private firefighters?
Federal workers to justify.
Look how it worked out in Rome.
High-ranking employee has been filming influencer videos that promote what she's wearing on social media from inside her government office. Kyung La is out front.
It looks just like any other influencer video. A young woman posing in front of a camera over and over and over again, showing off her trendy but timeless professional fashion. But she's no ordinary influencer, and that's no ordinary office. Her name is McLaurin Pinover, and she's the Trump administration's new director of communications for the Office of Personnel Management, or OPM, which manages federal employees. All of these videos were shot in her government office, right here at OPM headquarters in Washington, D.C., ground zero for Trump's plan to cut thousands of workers from the federal government in the name of efficiency. Inside her office, Pinover captures video at her desk, putting on makeup, modeling new outfits to her 800 followers. Pinover
People make fun of me because of my numbers. Oh shit. That's like what I've got on Twitter, and like, I'm not on Twitter. Wow.
It's on her account. Using what's called affiliate links, she could get a portion of any item sold through her Instagram page, like this $475 skirt or $300 dress, but it's unclear whether she's made any money. On February 13th, the day people on her communications team lost their jobs, she posted a moment for mixed patterns. And the week when her agency demanded all federal employees list 5 things they did that week, she posted the Businesswoman Special. As OPM spokeswoman, she defended the memo at the time as a commitment to an efficient and accountable federal workforce.
I would be very curious if she included her efforts to promote her brand as part of the 5 things that she accomplished that week.
Donald Sherman, the chief counsel for an ethics watchdog group, says more than anything, this behavior is insulting to the thousands of federal employees being fired.
This Trump administration appointee is violating the public trust at the same time as she seems to be instrumental in the administration's attack on civil servants.
And you just heard him there say she's a Trump official. She has only been on the job since January with the new administration. And some of this does appear to have happened on the clock. We were actually looking at her account this morning, Aaron. She posted a couple of Instagram stories during normal business hours. You can also see the time on her watch in at least one of the videos she filmed, all during work hours. Now, about 15 minutes after CNN reached out to her requesting comment, her Instagram account was deleted. She declined to comment officially to CNN, but we did comment from former OPM workers who told us, quote, "Are you kidding me? That's my office." Another called it absurd and ridiculous to post fashion videos as people are being laid off. Aaron?
It's incredible reporting. Kyung La, thank you very much.
Much efficient. Oh, wow. It's absurd. It's absurd. But man, these right-wingers, they're defending the work that Doge is doing. It got heated at a Doge committee hearing yesterday. This happened yesterday.
The men and women on this committee are good people. They're honest and caring people. And that's why I do not understand why you would relegate this committee to no longer being...
Are you talking about me, Orberlin? I have no idea about fashion. If I'd noticed that she looked like she was wearing somebody else's face, I totally would have done. Like, I make fun of people's looks a lot. It's kind of wrong of me. You're right. I probably should have made fun of her, but nothing stuck out to me. It didn't come to me that time. Oh, not this time? Okay.
And resort to saying you will do whatever Elon Musk and Donald Trump tell you to do. Where's the independence of the committee? Where's the legislature? We're an equal branch of government. And you start off with a blather, and yet look at the empty seats here. Where's Elon Musk? I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so eminent, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security. He's been on television the last couple of days talking exactly about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and what
This is John Larson of Connecticut.
Privatize it. The American people, some of them may have been born at night, but not last night. People are aware of this. Every single...
Oh, I'm sorry, this is not the Doge Committee. This is the House Ways and Means Committee.
He intends to do. Privatize it. The American people, some of them may have been born at night, but not last night. People are aware of this. Every single one of your districts, all the money that comes in monthly, and you have not done, you as a Congress have not done anything in more than 54 years. And now you have someone coming in to privatize a system, something you have longed to do going back to 1982, because Elon Musk thinks that this is the best thing to do. President Trump has called Social Security a scam. Elon Musk, as Mr. Neal said, called it a Ponzi scheme. Ask that of the people in your district. Ask that, Mr. Smith.
Pretty much, Mox.
More than 198,000 people in your district who rely on Social Security, and you won't even let the person who's planning to privatize it, who's telling the big lie in front of everyone, in bold as he possibly can, saying, this is what we're going to do. The Congress is in our back pocket. We don't even have to come before them and testify, because we control the House, we control the Senate, and we control the presidency. And it's the tyranny of the executive. It's why these resolutions were first adopted back in 1789, because the founding fathers knew that the executive branch does not have total authority over the legislature unless you have a willing party that says, no, we're going to do exactly what you tell us to do, Mr. Musk and Mr. President. It doesn't matter to our constituents. It doesn't matter how much money they are not going to receive. We're not even going to tell them the truth about what's going to happen to them.
You can't handle the truth.
Single one of these districts where they're being shut down and their personnel, and as Mr. Neal said, Dan, after you cut and eliminate the people, say the agency isn't responding accordingly. No other agency operates for under less than 1%. With that, they administer to over 70 million people in the nation's #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly and children. Shame! Shame! Can't bring people in front of this body? If he's right, if they're so good, if they're so just, why aren't they here telling the American people about it? They're not, because you know the truth. It's about privatization.
Mox over here acting like Congress people are just dropping like flies or some shit. It's not like 2 Democratic Congress people have died in the last as many weeks. I should be laughing about this. Arizona Congressman Raul Grijalva dies at 77 after battling lung cancer.
Democratic Congressman Raul Grijalva was an old-school progressive, rooted in his community, not afraid to mix it up.
I came of age admiring Democrats who fought for civil rights, for women's rights, for clean air, clean water, and for peace.
That's how Grijalva introduced himself at the 2016 Democratic National Convention. He endorsed Hillary Clinton for president after the primaries were over.
Yeah.
Grijalva's first choice was the progressives' champion, Senator Bernie Sanders.
And at some point, some of the corporate interests in this state have to have the courage to stand up and say this law is bad.
Grijalva made national news in 2010 by calling for an economic boycott of his home state after the passage of SB 1070, the so-called Show Me Your Papers law targeted undocumented immigrants. The boycott ended after Grijalva.
Yeah, Monks.
It wasn't changing any minds.
I'll be quite honest.
It's actually a pretty good idea.
I just don't think that there's going to be that kind of effect on the leadership of this state on this issue.
Raul Grijalva was the son of a bracero, a guest worker who emigrated from Mexico to Tucson. Grijalva was born there and would serve his community for 51 years on the Tucson City Council, Pima County Board, and in Congress.
Preserving these lands is good not only for Arizona, but for the planet.
You miss him yet?
The capstone of Grijalva's half-century career was President Joe Biden's creation in August 2023 of a new national monument for historic tribal land around the Grand Canyon. Grijalva had pushed the federal government for nearly a decade to protect the land. It married his concern for the environment with advocacy for indigenous people. Grijalva revealed in April 2024 that he'd been diagnosed with lung cancer. He ran for and won a 12th term in Congress in November, but Grijalva vowed it would be his final term. Bram Resnick, 12 News.
We got a good dose of Vermont politics. We watched one of your congressional race debates in the fall. We watched Bernie's Senate debate. Was it Bernie? No, it was the other senator this time, wasn't it? Was it Angus King? No, that's Maine. No, it's a woman senator, isn't it? I can't remember. We watched, no, it was Bernie that was running last time. Yeah. Yeah, it was Bernie. We watched Vermont Public Radio or whatever debate. It would looked like it was like Wayne's World style, like that lower end. This is Jason Smith, representative. God, where is he from again? St. Louis. He's representative from Missouri. Was this also yesterday?
The committee will come to order. Welcome to today's markup of
the House Ways and Means
the inquiry from committee Democrats. Democrats are attempting to undermine the critical work being done under President Trump to root out waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government, all in an effort to save taxpayer dollars and make important programs work better, more efficient, and more effective for the American people. My Democrat colleagues claim their concerns are about process and careful vetting, but the truth is that they have never found an ounce of government fat that they're willing
to. The bizarro George Santos
DOJ has a clear mission to end the rampant waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. At the Treasury Department, employees are cleaning the do not pay list to ensure taxpayer money does not end up in the wrong hands. Surely we can all agree that terrorists,
I've seen them twice,
criminals, fraudsters, dead people, they don't deserve taxpayer dollars.
They're getting taxpayer dollars.
My colleagues of the facts. DOJ employees are government employees. DOJ was authorized by the Senate-confirmed Treasury Secretary to access certain Treasury payment systems on a read-only basis. Just last week, President Trump reiterated that department leadership has the final say over the makeup and activities of their agencies. This is not a case of DOJ employees running wild. The Treasury Department and White House—
What you gonna do, brother?
A memorandum of understanding preventing DOJ from accessing personal taxpayer data. A DOJ employee can only see taxpayer data that is disconnected from any personal identifiable information. This is the same level of access already granted to some academic researchers and IT professionals. At
Well, I trust them way more than Elon.
A similar mission of helping the agency get back to the basics. We must end the Biden administration's focus on auditing more middle-class Americans.
Did ChatGPT write this?
To administering the tax code. The agency has struggled for years to perform basic tasks like answering the phone. Every American who has interacted with the agency knows that.
Forbes called it something like lambast. I thought it was like Scorch's Dims. Lambast Dims over their attacks on Elon.
We don't have to tell them that.
Sounds like a little Weasley simp.
The IRS and make IT improvements to cut wait time.
No, Elon wrote this, so it might as well be ChatGPT.
My Democrat colleagues have also conveniently ignored long-standing concerns with the lack of guardrails surrounding IRS employees accessing the agency's data systems. As of 2017, the IRS had been unable to produce a complete list of every agent who has access to the integrated data retrieval system or individual master file systems. Where was the interest? Where was the interest from my Democrat colleagues in taxpayer security then?
Master file.
No hard evidence has been presented.
But does it play Genesis games?
Of illegal access to taxpayer information by Doge employees are true, are based in fact. On the contrary, during a recent oversight subcommittee hearing, a witness testified there was no evidence for Democrat claims of illegal access or illegal disclosure of taxpayer data. All Democrats have the rumor and hearsay. For a party obsessed with, quote, misinformation, it appears they don't mind.
It's okay, little dude. We'll get it out.
It seems Democrats are only interested in oversight when they are out of power. When Democrats are in power, they do nothing about taxpayer privacy. Instead, they are choosing to drum up false accusations. At its heart, this ROI is nothing more than a sad attempt by Democrats to throw
ROI
of the Trump administration's important work
Return on
to
investment?
expose the waste, fraud, and abuse in our government. When Americans voted for President Trump, they sent a message that they want Washington to stop spending money on stuff that does nothing to serve the people. Every year, the federal government makes up to $521 billion in improper payments, according to a recent GAO study. No one can argue that we don't need to take serious and swift action to root out that waste. DOGE is fulfilling the mandate to rein in an unaccountable and bloated federal bureaucracy. This request for information is a nothing more than manufactured outrage that does nothing to serve the American people. I now recognize the ranking member from Massachusetts, Mr. Neal, for his opening statement.
Thank you.
Did you say the rapey member? I mean, it's Congress, probably. If the shoe fits. Do you guys remember Dr. Mahmoud? Is it Mahmoud Oz? Mehmet Oz.
He's kicking authority in the balls.
Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz, Trump's pick to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. On March 14th, Dr. Mehmet Oz will answer questions from members of the Senate Finance Committee in his confirmation hearing to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Oz is an unusual combination of high-achieving doctor. He has an Ivy League pedigree and was a heart surgeon at Columbia University for decades, and a TV personality who hosted a daytime talk show for 13 seasons. He's also courted controversy over endorsements of what many experts view as questionable products and remedies. It's not the typical background for the head of CMS, which generally includes a heavy focus on health policy. Oz was on the faculty of Columbia University, earning some renown as a skilled heart transplant surgeon who was part of the first published study in 2001 reporting on the benefits of mechanical hearts in treating heart failure. Earned his undergraduate degree from Harvard, medical degree from UPenn, where he also completed an MBA. What? He went to Columbia for his medical residency and remained an MBA, really? Remained to join the faculty, where he spent the rest of his medical career. Oz earned notoriety for his then unorthodox views on medical treatment, such as allowing his patients to receive massages and spiritual interventions to help their recovery. His untraditional views attracted the attention of health journalists eager to hear more about the quack-talking, engaging surgeon who wasn't afraid of discussing such unprecedented strategies. Yes, fucking Oprah. Oprah's head, one of the first ones on the block, right? We all agree. After we get done with Elon and Trump and Adelson and like Oprah is top 10 on the list, first ones on the block. Like many academics, Oz felt comfortable in the spotlight and seemed to have a knack for distilling complicated medical jargon and ideas into language that was easy for people to, without medical expertise to understand. He gained fame, for example, as a guest on Oprah in 2014 when he spoke about bowel movements. In following episodes, he brought the same straight talk to educating people, keeping their hearts healthy, bringing cadaver hearts to shock people into seeing the difference between hearts damaged by smoking and healthy ones. Popularity of his appearances led Oprah to support his own talk show focused on health issues, which ran from 2009 to 2022. Oz built on his medical knowledge and engaging way of communicating to discuss everything from how to keep hearts healthy to good nutrition and trendy supplements. His unique ability to tackle embarrassing health topics even led to a parody on Saturday Night Live in 2011. His quick transition from the operating room to the TV studio didn't surprise his longtime collaborator, Dr. Michael Rawlson, Chief Wellness Officer at Cleveland Clinic, with whom Oz wrote a series of best-selling health books. The pair also write a regular column that is syndicated in dozens of newspapers that Oz will give up when he's confirmed. He was just outstanding, Rawlson says of Oz's early Oprah appearances. But once he became a TV personality, controversy began to creep in, tasked with filling an hour a day, 5 days a week with a focus on entertaining people to maintain ratings. Oz's show began touting products and health remedies for which they had received endorsement fees. According to an investigation by the New York Times, his practices prompted the BMJ to publish an analysis of 40 shows and conclude that fewer than half of the health advice touted by Oz was supported by scientific evidence.
He's kicking authority in the balls.
I love that graphic. Trump's nominee to run the CDC has been withdrawn because, like, we don't have a director at the CDC while multiple epidemics are going on. Very well, I mean, is the measles a pandemic at this point?
The man tapped to be the next director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is now out of the running. The White House today withdrew Dave Weldon as President Trump's nominee to lead the agency. Weldon, a former Republican representative from Florida, was set to appear before the Senate in a confirmation hearing this morning. The decision to withdraw his nomination came after it became clear that Weldon would not have enough votes to make it out of committee due to past comments he's made about vaccines. He has made statements linking vaccines to autism, despite research showing no connection exists.
Well, good that he got canned. That's amazing. Wow. there is some form of integrity, apparently. Bragwitz, good evening. Next up, I'm going to present to you Senator Daniel Thatcher, a Republican from West Valley City in Utah. He was involved in an argument with Senate President Stuart Adams on Friday the 7th, later in the day. Thatcher had this announcement. So here we go. This is in the Utah State
Thank you
Senate.
for the presentation. Any discussion? Senator Thatcher.
Thank you, Mr. President. We discussed this at tremendous length in Health and Human Services, and I was very disappointed in the outcome there. There's a couple of things that I think are really important to understand. We just passed a bill for firearm education, and I voted for that bill because I think it is tremendously important for kids, even kids whose parents don't own guns, to know how to be safe, because there are accidental discharges, or as I like to call them, negligent discharges. So even though not every kid has guns in their house, I voted for a program to keep those kids safe and to educate those kids where the parents who don't want their kids to learn those things can opt out. That means a parent who is busy, a parent who is working, trying to put food on the table, a single mom with 3 jobs, they will have to affirmatively take a piece of paper and say, I do not want my kid to learn this, and send it back to school. Here's the problem I have with what we're doing in this bill. I don't support Planned Parenthood. I don't like Planned Parenthood. I hate elective abortions. And Senator McKay, that was grossly inappropriate.
Senator, we're not going to do that on the floor.
I
You won't
agree,
going to
Mr.
call anybody
President.
out. So, no.
We shouldn't do that on the floor. I'd like...
Senator, I don't have to recognize you. If you're going to call somebody out on the floor like that, I'm not going to recognize you. So just know that. Thank you for your discussion. I'm going to go back to Senator for further discussion.
Stratton. Thatcher.
I don't know what he said.
Vickers. Weiler. Wilson.
Senator, you can vote, but you don't have to be recognized. Senator Thatcher, I'm not going to recognize you. You can go ahead and vote. Senator, you're not going to, I will not allow another senator to be called out on this floor. We've talked about decorum. You used another senator's name and you went after him. I don't have to recognize you, and I'm not going to recognize you. So you can either vote or you can sit down, but I'm not going to recognize you. You're not going to call somebody out on this Senate floor. Senator, could I get your vote? No. Your statements were interrupted by the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate doesn't have to recognize you, so I need your vote. First substitute Senate Bill 233, having received 17 yea votes, 8 nay votes, 4 being absent, passes this body and will be returned to the House for further consideration.
Okay, that was the clash during the debate, but there's more to it, so hold on here. Oof. Okay, he is upset. This dude is a hardcore libertarian motherfucker. And he's calling the Republican Party crazy. He's leaving the Republican Party, joining what is called Utah Forward Party. don't have to be a part of the crazy anymore. So you saw the last confrontation. That was apparently his last straw that led to him announcing that he was leaving. The Republican Utah senator says he's had enough of a party that he believes is becoming disconnected from Utahns and straying from true conservatism and freedom-focused principles. Standing at the Utah Capitol Rotunda, Senator Dan Thatcher told a group of reporters on Friday, the final day of the legislature's 2025 session, that he would be unaffiliating from the Republican Party. Instead, he's joining the Utah Forward Party, a centrist party that has slogans not left, not right, forward. Standing alongside a handful of Forward Party leaders, Thatcher said he and his wife have been discussing the change for a really, really long time. But he said the Utah legislators' 2025 session, which has included legislation focused on facilitating the Trump administration's deportation goals, restricting voting by mail, banning LGBTQ flags from schools and public property, and more, was the final straw, or bale of hay, as he put it. Yes, this legislative session did accelerate the program, but I think this was always the way because I can't be a part of this anymore. Thatcher then used a tablet to switch his party affiliation, exclaiming "boop" when he submitted the change. Alien, good evening. Guess what? I don't have to be a part of the crazy making anymore. Thatcher's announcement comes as he's been increasingly frustrated with not just the state of the national politics, but also the general direction of Utah Republican Party. In recent years, he's also become no stranger to bucking the party's line, especially on LGBTQ plus issues. I believe that at present, the Forward Utah Party represents a more conservative position than the Utah Republican Party, because when I say that, liberty, they mean liberty according to the dictates of your own conscience, not liberty as dictated by the legislature. It's been about a decade since the Utah legislature last saw a third-party candidate. So the day before he joined the Forward Party, Thatcher was one of the few Republicans to vote against two hotly debated bills, one to restrict LGBTQ flags in schools and city and county buildings, and one aimed at helping the Trump administration accomplish its deportation goals by repealing a 2019 law that shielded migrants from being deported if they commit a misdemeanor offense. Thatcher argued against the flag ban while wearing a yellow Gadsden flag pin with a "Don't Tread on Me" logo. Thank you for being at least principled about it. I feel like we have been doing an awful lot of treading this year, Thatcher said during Thursday's debate. And I think liberty is liberty, even if people want to liberty different than us. During a contentious debate over the immigration bill, Thatcher said it might be the worst bill I've ever seen this year, arguing it would disproportionately target legal immigrants since people without lawful status are already being deported. ICE doesn't need a migrant in the country illegally to serve a 1-year sentence to deport them. They can deport them for the lack of documentation alone. Thatcher has repeatedly clashed with fellow Republicans, including Senator Dan McKay, who sponsored the bill banning pride flags from classrooms and city and county buildings. Thatcher's divorce from the Republican Party comes amid rising tensions between him and Utah GOP leadership, and he's increasingly bucked the party line. Thatcher was reassigned from the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senate leaders also recently moved Thatcher's seat near the right side of the chamber, previously with other Republicans to the far left side next to the Democrats. As recently as Friday morning, Thatcher publicly clashed with both Adams and McKay on the Senate floor. That's what we just watched. I don't support Planned Parenthood. I don't like Planned Parenthood. I hate elective abortions. Before McKay shouted something from the other side of the chamber, interrupting Thatcher's floor remarks. Thatcher looked at McKay and called him out by name, saying that was grossly inappropriate. Adams then interjecting, saying, "We're not going to do that on the floor." They cut his mic, and he kept wanting to announce his departure from the Republican Party during the vote, but they wouldn't let him. He was also adamant that he'll continue to serve out his term, which doesn't end until January 1st of 2027. Adams was asked about Thatcher's move during a media availability Friday afternoon and told reporters it's obviously his decision. We wish him well. I hope he does well, adding that it is healthy to have people in the legislature with different ideas. Did that catch everybody up? sorry to spring it on you without proper framing beforehand, but that's one of those where I don't watch anything beforehand kind of deal. I didn't know it needed the explanation. So my apologies. An Idaho teacher is having to remove a sign that says, no, I'm gonna let them say it. You find out for yourself.
Content neutral and conducive to a positive learning environment. That's the policy.
Right. And I was told that it's not content neutral, that it's a personal opinion.
A West Ada school teacher is being told to remove 2 signs of inclusion from her middle school classroom because the school district says it violates policy. Sarah Inama has taught world civilization to 6th graders at Lewis and Clark Middle School for the past 4 years. And for the past 4 years, Sarah had these signs up in her classroom. One that said, everyone in this room is welcome, important, accepted, respected, encouraged, valued, and equal, written over the colors of the rainbow. And another that said, everyone is welcome here, showing hands of various skin tones, hearts in the palm.
So offensive.
Pretty benign signs if you look at them. And before we go any further with this, the sign with the rainbow colors, not the same as an LGBTQ flag, although Sarah says she's very much an ally, she just doesn't advertise it in her classroom. So for 4 years, these signs have survived sans harassment. Nobody said a word about them. That is, until about a month ago.
My building administration came to me during my lunch period and told me that they needed to be taken down by the end of the day. They told me that they were in violation of district policy.
How?
Because in today's political environment, they're considered a personal opinion.
Did they say somebody complained about them?
No. I asked if anyone had complained about them, and they said no. We just want to protect you from that if that were to happen.
In this political environment, that is not acceptable.
Yeah, I was told a couple things. That everyone is welcome here is not something that everybody believes. So that's what makes it a personal opinion.
You were told this, that not everybody believes everyone is welcome.
Right.
Okay. And who told you this? Who was the one saying that not everyone believes this?
My building administration and district personnel.
Face to face, they told you this? What was your response to that?
Because I was told to take it down by the end of the day, I did so. And the following few days, I just was so unsettled by it. And so I went back into my classroom and put it back up. And I emailed my principal and said, I don't agree. I don't agree that this is a personal opinion. I feel like this is the basis of public education.
Yep.
What was the response to that?
They came to talk to me and again asked me to take it down. And I said, I'm not interested in taking it down.
That's when the district higher-ups got involved. In an email exchange with Chief Academic Officer Marcus Myers, he highlighted the section of district policy he says Sarah's signs violated, including the advancement of individual beliefs and district facilities should be content neutral. But more specifically, Myers pointed to Idaho Code, the Dignity and Non-Discrimination in Public Education Act, which says district employees and students shall respect the dignity of others and acknowledge the right of others to express differing opinions. And they're saying that putting up a poster that says everyone is welcome.
It's the paradox of tolerance, isn't it?
Yeah, because everyone is welcome here, especially since the poster emphasizes in regards to skin color with the images of the hands, that is considered something that people have differing views on.
And the differing view would be racist?
I mean, I can't even wrap my
head around. You gotta make the racists feel welcome.
I mean, except for something that's exclusionary. So everyone is welcome here really isn't a personal statement, it's non-discrimination. It's verbatim on our Explorer Way posters.
That's true. Sarah says these posters, made by the middle school principals and put up in every classroom, lay out what it means to be a Lewis and Clark Explorer, welcome others, and embrace diversity. Isn't everyone is welcome here the same thing?
It is welcoming others and it is embracing diversity. And these are the students that are in.
My God.
I just feel like, as a teacher, and I feel like probably a lot of teachers share this sentiment, I would do anything to protect my students. I love all of them unconditionally. We protect them from danger. Quite literally would take a bullet for these students. And this is the one small thing that I feel like I can do to speak out against this and stand up for them, to protect them from being affected by racist sentiments affecting their classroom. I find it hard to grapple with the fact that the reason why this poster needs to come down is because there are people outside of our school that disagree with it.
Sarah says she realizes it's just a poster, and she knows her students already know they are welcome. But this is about principle. She told us it's important to not be complacent in something she feels is just wrong. To be clear, we did reach out to the West Ada School District several times to get their take on these signs, but we were told Marcus Myers, that'd be the chief academic officer, is, quote, not interested in being interviewed. Please refer to the statement we sent earlier, they said. A statement that does not answer any of the questions Sarah and Nama had about how, specifically, her "Everyone is Welcome Here" sign violates district policy. The statement just repeats the part about anything put up in the classroom has to be, quote, content neutral and conducive to a positive learning environment, end quote. It even includes examples of what is allowed, like, well, the Idaho flag, or a flag used to teach world politics, but only temporarily. Say, in a Spanish class, can a Spanish flag be used to show all the countries that speak Spanish? Who knows? You can put up a periodic table in a chemistry class, or you can put up a constitution in a civics class. Got Teacher of the Year? Cool. Display that proudly. Your school won the state wrestling tournament? We'll allow that. Proud of the college you went to or a fan of the Seattle Seahawks? That's fine. Any artwork from the class or a field trip photo, as well as any promotions of school teams and activities, those are all good. Even personal family photos are no problem. The district even put in an including but not limited to clause with this policy, but apparently everyone is welcome here is beyond their limits. In that email, trying to show Sarah where her poster violates policy, the district directed her to that Idaho code that we mentioned. The dignity and non-discrimination in public
I like the way you think, Orville.
Passed in 2021. Remember that? Well, because Idaho schools were riddled with critical race theory, this law says, saying anything that, quote, inflames divisions on the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, national origin would not be allowed in Idaho public schools. No school shall compel students to personally affirm, adopt, and adhere to any tenet that any sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin is inherently superior or inferior. They told Sarah she had until the end of this school year to remove or replace her signs with something less violating. What if she doesn't? I don't know. The question still remains, what could be less
got until the end of the school year?
Elicit less of an uproar than everyone is welcome here? Especially when there's already something in nearly every classroom that says, welcome others and embrace diversity. Other questions to consider. In this rush to be anti-woke, is it possible for the pendulum to swing too far the other way? What about this common sense mantra we've been hearing so much about? Is everyone is welcome here? Is that considered indoctrination? Does it inflame divisions on the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, national origin? Well, these are questions Sarah would like answered, which is why she reached out to us. But we got the same response she did. Mr. Myers is not interested in being interviewed or talking about it.
Good reporting. That is KTVB out of Idaho. I mean, I guess some people don't feel very welcome in the United States anymore. Renowned television personality, movie star Rosie O'Donnell, no longer a resident of the United States, taking her ass over to Europe.
Rosie is out of here.
Peace.
The TV personality has
Carve.
fled the USA and is now living in Ireland. She reveals she made the move 5 days before Trump's inauguration.
Moved here in January.
Carpe, I ban the use of the word woke because Bagheera used to come in here and, well, it still does, but I guess I can't say woke anymore.
And
I banned woke because he used it all the fucking time.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
USA and is now living in Ireland. She reveals she made the move 5 days before Trump's inauguration.
Moved here on January 15th, and it's been pretty wonderful, I have to say.
Her new home is in a suburb of Dublin. She shared photos of the neighborhood where she's living with her 12-year-old daughter, Dakota.
The people are so loving and so kind, so welcoming. in the process of getting my Irish citizenship, as I have Irish grandparents.
So, what does Trump think? He mocked Rosie's move today as he hosted Ireland's prime minister.
Do you know who she is? Yeah. You better off. You better
I
off.
left it up to the chat. The chat said leave it banned to fuck with Bagheera.
Good riddance. The feud between Trump and O'Donnell goes way back to the year 2006 when she mocked him as she hosted The View.
And there he is, hair looping going, everyone deserves a second chance.
And it was reignited during the 2016 presidential campaign.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
Meanwhile, Trump is apparently...
It was a pretty good impression, I gotta say. You got the swoop down.
He told me he's not using, for example, if he has a burger now, he usually doesn't have it with a bun.
Health Secretary Bob Kennedy says he's noticed a change.
I saw him yesterday, and I think he's lost 30 pounds.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
When he has a burger, he doesn't eat it with a bun. Flash, good evening. Wait a minute. Didn't we just have a congressman? Oh, it didn't just. It was a couple of years ago. Wasn't there a congressman that died of butt cancer? Because I've, made a really big deal about it. I'm pretty sure that we had a congressman that died of cancer in the butthole. And you know what that means.
God's going to put a cancer in the butthole. God's going to put a cancer in the butthole of every sodomite. Every sodomite's butthole will get cancer in the butthole. It'll burn and burn and burn. They won't be able to sit down because of the burning in their butthole. He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole. God's going to have a flame coming out of your butthole. You're going to have a flame coming out of your butthole. If you thought that AIDS was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole. Your butthole will be flaming, and you will not be able to sit down until you have a flame coming out of your butthole. And there'll be people walking around all over America with flames coming out of their butthole. And everyone who takes it up the rear, everyone who has a penis injected in his butthole, when that penis comes out, the flame will start burning, because ain't nobody gonna stick no penis in that flame. That flame will be an eternal flame coming out of the butthole of every sodomite. Flame coming out of the butthole, flame coming out of your butt. That man.
Is this burning a butthole flame? Sorry.
Nobody gonna stick no penis in that flame. That flame will be an eternal flame coming out of the butthole of every sodomite. Flame coming out of the butthole, flame coming out of your butt. That man pulls that penis out of you, a flame is going to come out, and nobody will ever stick a penis in your butthole again because it will be on fire. You ain't seen nothing till you see the flame coming out of T.D. Jake's butt. Who? Lightning bug. Got a flame coming out of his butt, and all flames shooting out of their behinds. You're going to see the power of God. Flame of fire is going to come out their butthole.
Who's T.D. Jakes? Is that a real tweet, Flash? I shared it in the Discord. I have my doubts. Has he broke Grimes? Did she really say that? I need you to verify. No, I need you to verify if it's real or not. I will show the stream, but I need to know it's real. You know, speaking of mega church pastors, that's the next story. Also, we're in the crime section of the show, and also content warning. Think you all know where this is going. The founder of the Gateway Church indicted on child sex charges.
Says we do have some breaking news to take you out to. Just into our newsroom, Gateway Church founder Robert Morris.
Very, very, very close pal to one Mr. Donald Trump.
Has been indicted on child sex charges. Again, here's what we know from our Fox 4 team.
Spiritual advisor
was indicted yesterday by an Oklahoma federal grand jury on 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts with a child. The indictment says the abuse began around Christmas Day back in 1982. That document says Morris, quote, did intentionally touch or feel with his hand the body or private parts of CC.
Oh, he stepped down because a woman accused him of rape, but now he's been indicted for crimes against children. Clinically, good evening.
Who was 12 years old at that time. Although court documents do not name the victim, the initials, timeline, and details match the allegations made by Cindy Clemshire.
Oh, T-minus, good evening.
Typically don't identify victims of alleged sexual abuse, Clemshire went public with her story last June. She detailed the moments of her childhood in Oklahoma where she says Morris repeatedly molested her. At the time, Morris was a traveling preacher and would stay at Clemshire's home. Aside from 2 alleged crimes in 1982, the indictment outlines similar instances in January of 1983 and 1985. According to court paperwork, it escalated when Morris's victim was 13 or 14, highlighting incidents between January of 1983 and 1985 when he, quote, removed her clothing and rubbed his clothed body against hers while inside a parked car. Clemshire says Morris's indictment is welcome news. We actually do have a statement from her. It says, quote, after almost 43 years, the law has finally caught up with Robert Morris for the horrific crimes he committed against me as a child. Now it is time for the legal system to hold him accountable. My family and I are deeply grateful to the authorities who have worked tirelessly to make this day possible and remain hopeful that justice will ultimately prevail. A Gateway Church spokesperson said it is grateful that the justice system is, quote, holding abusers accountable. We also have a statement from the Oklahoma Attorney General saying there can be no tolerance for those who sexually prey on children. This case is all the more despicable because the alleged perpetrator was a pastor who exploited his position. The victim in this case has waited far too many years for justice to be done. Fox 4 reached out to a number registered to Morris, but no one answered or returned that call. Morris resigned from the church back in June when Clemshire came forward with the claims. She said she brought up her allegations multiple times to the church's Board of Elders. When the claims became public, the Board of Elders said they weren't aware that the young lady in question may have been 12 years old. In November, the church says a number of elders were let go and other staff members who knew about the claims would not be allowed to become elders. Just bringing you this breaking news here on Live Fox. If you are just joining us, Gateway.
Grimes apparently did not peg Elon. I doubt he ever actually had sex with her. Though there was the Azalea Banks thing where she said they tried to have a threesome with her. So I don't know. If I found out that Elon was some weird celibate dude, involuntarily celibate because his dick's messed up or something, I would believe it. She didn't admit that she didn't peg him, is what you're saying. You still think she could have pegged him. We're putting the kibosh on the fact that she did not tweet out that she has a video of him getting pegged. Okay, this next story is absolutely horrific. There's new details on a Gulfport, Florida teen who apparently hooked up with a stranger on a social media app.
Tonight, a St. Pete landlord is giving insight into his neighbor who is being charged in connection with the death of a 16-year-old girl. Good evening. I'm Stacy Scheibel.
And I'm Keith Kate. Thank you for joining us. According to St. Petersburg police, Miranda Corset was beaten and tortured for days by Stephen Gress before she died. News Channel 8's Lenny Supal joining us live from police headquarters. She has the latest on this very disturbing case we've been following. Lenny.
Yes, tonight we're getting a closer look at the house calls before he met the 16-year-old. And we're also learning that on Valentine's Day, they connected on social media.
Is everything cool? Yes, sir. We got a call.
Tonight, a snapshot into the growing concerns and a series of police calls stemming from this Northwest St. Petersburg home.
All right, you good? Yeah. All right.
Body cam footage showing Stephen Gress reassuring officers outside. This encounter taking place more than a week before he connected with Corset on social media. Police say Miranda Corset was tortured, beaten, and killed inside the duplex between February 20th and 24th.
We're still trying to piece it all together. Really, there's more going on there. There's crystal meth involved. You know. There was that pipes found there and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know.
Is Gress's landlord, his outdoor camera capturing the tense moments during the arrest, noticing a shift in behavior since the start of the year.
And it was funny, he would come over here to pay his rent. I used to go to the house and pick it up, but something happened there in the last couple months.
Then police making another arrest. Michelle Brandis turned herself in, also charged with first-degree murder in the case. But tonight, the search for the teen's remains intensifies.
When I was evicting them, they were supposed to be moving out on the Friday before this happened. So that's why I can't understand how, you know, they were going over there, they were moving things out.
Police say that Stephen Gress was arrested before on unrelated charges. However, a tip in this case eventually led to his first-degree murder charge. Keith?
Linda, let's go back to Miranda Corset. I mean, the search for her body is just awful. Last week, I think we were reporting they were searching like a dumpster, and then they thought, well, that dumpster is emptied. It's gone to a landfill. What do we know about her remains?
Well, police say that her body was taken to a home in Largo where she was dismembered, and then she was dumped in a landfill in Hillsborough County. But the search for her remains continues. Keith?
Just awful. Lenny Supal reporting live for us in St. Pete. Thank you.
Meth is a hell of a drug. Yeah, this next one, very, very graphic, very hard subject matter. So, content warning, triple content warning. We have body cam footage of a shooting. The news station says it left a transgender woman dead. Usually when a news station says it like that, the cops shot them. So let's find out what happened. I'm gonna guess the cops killed her.
New details tonight on a police shooting that turned deadly in Pacoima. An officer shot a transgender woman in a motel room after she pulled out a knife. She later died of her injuries. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Fisher here with a closer look at the video and why the LA LGBT Center is demanding action. Michelle.
Mark, less than 10 minutes after officers arrived on scene, this officer-involved shooting occurred, things escalating quickly. And tonight, the center says they want the officer responsible to be held accountable. A deadly officer-involved shooting captured in newly released LAPD body camera footage. The images shedding light on last month's encounter that claimed the life of 30-year-old Linda Moran, a trans woman who called officers around 10:30 in the morning on February 7th, indicating she was being held against her will. Moran describing her situation in Spanish.
Linda, ¿te está forzando a hacer esto?
Body camera video captures LAPD Foothill Division officers responding to a motel on San Fernando Road in Pacoima and interacting with Moran, who they have sit on the bed as they inspect her head, where she tells officers she's been hit.
Can I touch your head?
This body camera from a supervisor who arrives later on the scene, showing Moran becoming agitated. "Do not touch me," she tells officers in Spanish as they speak across the room about what's happening.
Oh my God.
Moments later, things escalate. Moran yelling from the kitchen area with a knife, "Get out of here." Then, quote, "Kill me then," as the supervisor reminds the DCO, designated cover officer, that he has less than lethal rounds. This angle showing the officer-involved shooting, as officers speak with Moran standing outside her room. "Throw the knife away," they tell her before she moves toward them and is shot.
Oh my God, pussies.
An image showing Moran holding a knife with a 6.5-inch blade that was recovered at the scene. After the shooting,
not even sharp.
Paramedics transported Moran to a local hospital where medical staff determined she needed surgery. She was pronounced deceased from her injuries on February 27th.
Oh my God.
As an investigation into the deadly officer-involved shooting continues, the Los Angeles LGBT Center is demanding a meeting with LAPD leadership. The statement saying in part,
my God,
should never result in death at the hands
no, it shouldn't.
to protect us. Failing to hold officers accountable only perpetuates a culture of impunity and state-sanctioned violence, something our community refuses to accept. So here's what happens next after the investigation is complete. The Critical Incident Review Division will then forward their findings to the police chief, who will then make a recommendation to the Civilian Board of Police Commissioners. They then evaluate the evidence to determine if
it's supposed to be all those big, strong, tough guys.
LAPD standards.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more.
Hey, Mark Brown. Appreciate you. Galaxy, welcome in. Yeah, seriously. They should have left the room. They made it so much worse. Here's one for you. I guess this is a good ending. A man has been freed after being held captive for 20 years.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us here for the News at 5. I'm Keisha Grant.
And I'm Mike Heidick. The big story continues. You heard it right. Kimberly Sullivan is out on bond tonight, walking free after her hearing earlier today.
While the judge is allowing her to go home, there are some conditions to her release.
We're bringing you live team coverage tonight of the shocking case. We start with NBC Connecticut's Amanda Pitts with more on what happened in court. Amanda.
Yeah, Mike, Keisha, Kimberly Sullivan posted bond this afternoon at about 1:45 here at Waterbury Superior Court, posting 10% of her $300,000 bond. State prosecutors tried to get her under 24/7 home confinement. The judge ultimately denied that, instead putting her under a very strict supervision. All this while the investigation into how this could have possibly happened is just beginning. A welcome sign on the front door to an alleged house of horrors.
33 years of law enforcement. This is the worst treatment of humanity that I've ever witnessed.
The boarded-up home on Blake Street in Waterbury is where a now 32-year-old says he was held captive by his stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, for 20 years.
Always upstairs on the second floor window, and he always seemed like he was trapped there.
First responders were called to the home last month after investigators say the victim set a fire in his 8x9 room using a lighter, hand sanitizer, and paper because he wanted his freedom, according to court documents. They reported the door to the room having multiple locks on the outside, and when found, the victim, according to court documents, was extremely emaciated. His hair was matted and unkempt. He was very dirty, and his teeth all appear to be rotten.
This victim, 31 years old, was 5'9", 68 pounds. He was in the stages of dying.
He told police he recalled drinking water from the toilet due to the fact that he was only getting about 2 cups of water per day, and was pulled out of school in the 4th grade as an 11-year-old because DCF was called after he'd steal others' food and sometimes eat food out of the garbage.
What?
We knew it. We reported it. Not a damn thing was done. That's
That's the tragedy of the whole thing.
Waterbury's chief says they have no record of that complaint. Police did make a welfare check in 2005 at the request of DCF.
Officers went to the house. The house was clean. It was lived in. They spoke to the victim at that point in time, and there were no cause for any alarm.
Sullivan is now facing assault and kidnapping charges. Posting bond on Thursday, the judge ordering her to be under intense probation supervision. Her attorney maintaining her innocence.
Her innocence? If I was the judge, I wouldn't have let her out. I would not have let this woman out. There's no fucking way.
At the request of DCF.
Officers went to the house. The house was clean. It was lived in. They spoke to the victim at that point in time, and there were no cause for any alarm.
Sullivan is now facing assault and kidnapping charges. Posting bond on Thursday, the judge ordering her to be under intense probation supervision. Her attorney maintaining her innocence, pinning the blame on her late husband, who died last year and was wheelchair bound.
This was the biological son of her now deceased husband. She is the stepmother, and so this father did dictate everything as to the upbringing and everything else.
Now, the Department of Children and Families did release a statement this afternoon saying, "We are shocked and saddened for the victim and at the unspeakable conditions he endured. As a result, DCF has looked extensively at our current and historical databases and to date have been unable to locate any records pertaining to this family, nor any records connected to the names of others who have indicated they made reports to our department." Now, as for Sullivan, she's due back here in court on March 26th. Live in Waterbury, Amanda Pitts, NBC Connecticut News. Mike and Keisha.
Amanda Pitts with the very latest. We continue our live team coverage now with NBC Connecticut's Matt Austin.
He's been hearing from the community about the case. Matt, how are they reacting?
Yeah, this is a real heartbreaking case for so many in this community, including for some longtime officers here. Now, some are wondering if the man had been spotted potentially over recent years.
Finding out that someone was allegedly held captive in this house in Waterbury for about 2 decades was a shock to a next-door neighbor who has lived here for 10 years.
To know I was right by here this whole time and he was going through that suffering, it's heartbreaking. I hope he'll be okay.
Zephyr Guanera tells us years ago a family member playing outside potentially spotted the alleged victim, who might have looked like a kid.
She was just a 10-year-old child on the swing, doing what kids do, looked up in the window, saw a little child. She said had a baseball cap on. He waved to her, she waved to him, and that was it. He walked away, and she never saw him again.
At this point, the now 32-year-old's name has not yet been released or where he's recovering. The mayor has asked people to respect his privacy.
It's truly a horrifying, and it's beyond comprehension what occurred here. The young man's unimaginable suffering over the course of 2 decades is just a reminder of the darkness that does exist in our world.
This case has stunned even veteran officers. We're told investigators collected and brought him items like clothing and books as he begins his recovery.
Our plan is to continue to support him. He's going to need a lot of support as he travels through this and tries to figure out how to navigate what has occurred and what the future holds for him.
Now, that next-door neighbor we heard from says he's not certain that he ever saw the man, but he does wonder if that's who was outside doing chores sometimes. Live in Waterbury, Matt Austin, NBC Connecticut News. Keisha, back to you.
Wow. The Galaxy, I think it is awesome that we pay to defend her. I think we should spend far more money on public defenders. I think public defenders are the salt of the earth. That's what makes us American. That's what makes America, well, for now, or it was, that you had a right to an attorney, a right to a fair trial. I strongly believe in that. Is our system perfect? Fuck no. But it's better than any of the other alternatives I've been presented with, and we can reform it. I'd like to save it, but we're at a crossroads. Did anybody ever watch Ghost Adventures? Anybody a fan of Ghost Adventures? Wife of Ghost Adventures star is accused of plotting his murder.
We're learning chilling new details about what cops say is a murder-for-hire plot to kill a TV Ghostbuster. Victoria Goodwin appeared in court in Las Vegas, charged with attempting to hire a hitman to do away with her husband.
Honestly, it felt like this black mass just hit me.
Aaron Goodwin and his team investigate haunted houses on the Discovery Plus TV show Ghosted.
Hey, you're right, Flash.
I'm scared to walk forward. I'm scared to go up the steps.
According to police, what his wife planned was a lot scarier. 32-year-old Victoria is said to have reached out to a convicted killer named Grant Amato, who's behind bars for an unspeakable crime.
You've been found guilty.
Steve Miller?
Killing your mother, your father, and your brother. Life imprisonment without any possibility of parole.
Amato's brutal murders in 2019 has inspired the Paramount Plus documentary series Control-Alt-Desire. Victoria reportedly began writing him after seeing his story. She's accused of hiring him to arrange the hit, offering to pay $11,000. I'm so anxious. Am I a bad person because I choose to end his existence, not divorce? She allegedly texts. According to court papers, Amato arranged for a buddy to carry out the hit on Aaron Goodwin while he was filming Ghost Adventures in Barstow, California. He's asleep right now in the hotel room, Amato texted the alleged hitman. Can I get an update? Was it done? Court papers say Victoria also texted a photo of her husband and details of his schedule. No actual attempt to kill Aaron Goodwin took place. When his wife was arrested, she tried to explain the text to police by saying she was just fantasizing.
It's cool. You got to check it out. It's awesome.
So many cool things to see.
Everything appeared normal when they vacationed in Hawaii in December. Friends say he is blindsided by the allegations.
Victoria Goodwin has pleaded not guilty to charges of soliciting and conspiring to commit murder.
But why would you think some dude that's imprisoned would have the connections to get somebody? I don't even. Texting the whole thing, Googling how to incriminate yourself.